Hey, welcome back to Main Irish Angling TV. Today we're going to look at a couple of lines that are in stock here at Main Irish Angling. Now, it's a very cold end of January day that I'm making this video, and this is the time of year where most carp anglers are going to get themselves organised for the coming season. Most carpers start their season around the March period. That said, I know there's an awful lot of carpers that go all year long, but it's around this time of year that most of us start getting out our tackle, giving it a good clean down and changing lines, getting rigs made up and getting ourselves generally sorted for the coming year. So I'm going to look at a couple of lines and talk about their advantages. So the first one that's really popular at the moment is the subline. Now this comes in, this is made by Carp. The subline comes in anything from 10 all the way up to 20-pound breaking strain. Now, one thing to be very aware of, that the breaking strains on these have, say if it's like 12-pound, it is actually a 0.35 millimeter line. The actual line of the subline is very thick, and there's a reason for that. Subline is designed to sink. So for guys who want to use, you know, sort of very slack line fishing, people are moving over to the subline because, as I said, it's a very fast sinking monos. Mono tends not to sink that fast. This is their kind of, it's their wannabe fluorocarbon, and but it has none of the disadvantages of fluorocarbon. Now, I know a lot of guys have used a subline and they find it very springy. And that's why what you need to do is when you spool up on your rods, you need to take your rod out into a field, tie the line to a post and walk about 150 yards of line off the reel, tighten up, and then what I tend to do is go beyond the rod and wrap the line around my arms and pull tight. And what you're doing is you're putting some stretch, or you're taking some of the springiness out of the line, and that works really well. So that's the subline. It's designed primarily for guys who want to fish a sinking line. They want to use a slack line. There are plenty of waters where you've got a lot of carp, very small intimate waters where a lot of carp are moving in between you and you know, sort of maybe 20, 30, 40 yards out, and you need everything pinned to the floor. Subline is going to be the one for you. Now also, not only is it very springy, but it's not a great casting line, so it's real short range to medium range work. If you need long range, then there are other better lines on the market for that. Now, Carp also have another line called Adrenaline, and that's their casting line. Now, Adrenaline is very popular. A lot of guys get on very well with it, and I've never I've used the subline, I've never used the Adrenaline. And again, that's like, for example, I'm going to give you an example of this. The 12-pound subline is 0.35 millimeters, right? Whereas the 18-pound line with the Adrenaline is only a 0.38, so it's very little in the diameter and difference, and yet there's a big incremental difference in breaking strain. Adrenaline is purely for distance casting, so you know, you've got to kind of work out what you want to achieve out your line. Now, Derek has been using the Adrenaline. Derek, the owner of Main Irish Angling, he's been using the Adrenaline, and he also has been using this new one, which is they're 300 meter spools, and this is the Daiwa ST Tournament monofill. Now, he did a little bit of research and he found out that a lot of guys in the match fraternity were using this and getting on great with it. So he decided to go up to the higher breaking strain. This is the 15-pound mono, and again, this has, even though it's 15, it's 0.32 millimeters for 15-pound breaking strain. And again, the subline was at 12-pound was 0.35. So that's just giving you an indication of you know, the diameter of the line. This is apparently a great casting line. And one thing that Derek did a test on a very windy day. He did a number of casts, same rod, same reel, same line. Well, he had Adrenaline on one spool, and he had the Daiwa Tournament ST on the other. And he had the same lead, and he was just sort of giving it a good heave-ho cast, trying to keep everything more or less the same on each trial. He trialled it for a number of casts on each, and he found that the Adrenaline put a massive bow on the cast when the way the wind was coming across. It was putting a big bow on the line as he was casting, whereas with the Daiwa line, he didn't have as much a bow, and it was noticeably different. He finds it very good for casting, has a nice limpness to it, and he finds it a nice casting line, and he seems to think it's quite strong, nice and abrasion resistant, and again, a lot of the research has shown him that it's actually, for the money, a very good value for money line. 300 meters of that is only going to cost you $6.59. I mean, that's a steal if you're into worrying about pricing. Now, here's a line that's just come in, and this is Shimano's Tribal line. This is in 10, 12 and 15 pound breaking strain. This is an out and out casting line. And, you know, for example, the 15 is 0.38, which is, you know, pretty much the same diameter as the 18 pound in the Adrenaline. But what I will say is, whilst it's saying 15 pound, it is understated. They will actually break much higher than what it says on the tin. Now, one of the reasons why we got this one in is because Terry Edmonds, who is a very, very famous caster in the UK, he's a world record holder. He's been doing an awful lot of tutorials on how to cast. And one thing he's been recommending is that the Shimano Tribal is the exact same line as the old Shimano Katana. And in the 10 pound breaking strain, which has a 0.305 millimeter diameter, he reckons that's one of the best casting lines on the market. So if you want out and out castability, if you want distance as your primary, then definitely check out that on the Shimano. Now, what I will say is, having looked at it, it is exceptionally limp as lines go, and it's nicely packaged, but it's a very limp line. And when you take it off the spool, when you just put a little bit of tension down it, it actually comes out nice and straight. It doesn't have that real coily like some of the other lines, like Subline. Subline, no matter how much you pull down, it goes back into its coil. This is zero memory on this. It really is a very soft line. So if you're looking for a casting line, then we would recommend you have a quick look at the Shimano Tribal line. It seems to fit and tick a lot of the boxes that are needed for a casting line. Now, Derek's brought it in up to 15 pound breaking strain. The retail price on that is around the €24 mark, but that's a much higher capacity. Like there's 1,371 meters on the 10 pound, and there's 990 yards or 830 or 823 meters on the 15 pound. So again, it's representing reasonably good value for money, because you're going to get 3 spool fills out of one main spooler line, and you probably have some left over as well. So that's just a quick look at a couple of the lines here at Main Irish Angling. Whilst I have directed this video at Carp, there's a lot of pikers who are using these heavy lines. One thing I will say, if you're doing any weed fishing at all, then no one who's weed fishing should be using a line less than 20 pound break strain or 0.40 diameter, either or. There is no excuse for losing fish in weed, and weed is abrasive. It makes a mockery of most lines. So what you need to do is you need to use a heavy line when weed fishing. So if you're an angler who fishes a Maynooth or Lyrene, whichever you want to call it, I certainly wouldn't be going in anything less than 0.40 line or 20 pound breaking strain line. So that's a quick look at the Subline, Adrenaline, the ST Tournament from Daiwa, and the Shimano Tribal line here at Main Irish Angling. We're going to catch you in the next video, and don't forget to check out our channel and check out all our back catalogue of videos. We have plenty there for you to peruse, and we'll see you in the next video.